Hey everybody, it's Alexander Creek, psychic medium and astrologer. Welcome to the Dark Star Oracle Report. Today we're going to be talking about all about your spirit allies. We're talking about your guides, angels, the beings on the other side that are working with you. And I have like a new session that I'm doing that deals with this. I'm going to talk about that at the end, so I'm not like front loading with an ad or something. So if you don't know me, I'm a psychic medium and channel. And I have been really like interested in talking to the other side like my entire life. I am not someone necessarily that was like born, with like I talked about this in another podcast, like, I wasn't seeing like angels at the foot of my bed or having these like experiences or anything like that that you often hear with like spiritual teachers and stuff. This is entirely like I do think that I'm like supposed to be doing this, but this is essentially like something that I learned to do and that I think that we all can learn to do. So, but I just want to talk about my experience with it and give, just advice, information on spirit guides, angels, like connecting more to the other side and what that might look like. So, interesting. My first experience, with my guides, I think was that I can consciously remember was actually in the form of like a religious dream. And I had a dream when I was really little that I was in like biblical era. I grew up Lutheran, right? So like having Christian imagery is something that probably was going to come naturally to me. And I had a dream that I was in like biblical times and that Jesus came to me and like I always had growing pains in my knees growing up and they were often like really hurt at night. And by the way, found out that maybe that's not necessarily normal because they are kind of a strange shape now, but I didn't know that at the time. And in this dream, Jesus came to me and breathed on my right knee that was hurting in the dream and like cured my knee in the dream. And I'm not Christian. However, beings like Jesus, I kind of put with like Buddha and things. I think these are real beings. I think these are like spiritual masters, like we would call them like ascended masters. But I've always kind of had a connection to like Christ energy. And in that dream, I think he was sort of saying like, what you're going to be a healer, you're going to be a guide, you're going to do like what I do. Not necessarily like I'm not out here turning water into wine or like, any of those things. But that was, I think, the first experience with a message from the other side. And, fast forward to I was in senior year of high school and I was listening to a episode of This American Life. It was a podcast and it was about a pastor who decided that he no longer believed in hell. And as someone who grew up Christian and in a conservative Lutheran church, I always had a fear of hell and a fear of, being damned if I did something wrong. There's a lot of shame around my sexuality also. And just that if you grew up in that kind of Christian environment, and we didn't necessarily even talk about that at home, but I always had a strong connection to religion and spirituality. So there was always part of me that was afraid I was going to go to hell. And that also put people in like black and white, like little boxes, like, are you saved? Or are you not saved? And this pastor was talking about like, hey, I kind of think hell is here. Hell is on this earth. And it just something in that episode freed me, completely liberated me from the thought constructs that kept me very controlled. And once I was free from this fear of hell, I really had no concept of religion or like what I believed. And my best friend gave me this book called Many Lives, Many Masters by Dr. Brian Weiss. And that was my introduction into like metaphysics. And that book was all about, I think he was some sort of like Yale or Harvard professor. He's still around, I believe. He does like the Hay House, spirituality circuit. But he was talking about in that book, it was just all these cases of past life regression and taking people through their past lives and bringing healing to them because they can understand these themes that have unfolded in many lifetimes. But also, the biggest takeaway, I think, from that book, or something I learned like at that time, was like the concept that we all have guides around us all the time, that we are born with them, that we have them before we even come in this lifetime, and we have them after. And something about that just rang true to me so deeply and gave me so much comfort, and just was like, this is absolutely right. Like, I could just feel like this is correct information. It just lit me up. And it was like, because I had the freedom of like, I don't really know what I believe, but I believe this. And I always believed in like angels and heaven and like these kinds of things, and like the other side. Like that, it was sort of like, I think I had that moment in time. I think that before you incarnate, before you come into this life, you plan out certain moments that trigger your spiritual development, or that trigger, this development in your life. So that was a really important time for me. And so, I kind of went on this journey for a few years where I just got more and more into metaphysics and spirituality. And I just was like on this awakening, you know, quest. And around 2014 is when I really was like, I really want to develop my psychic side. Something in me said, I can do this. And I didn't have any evidence for that necessarily. I mean, I always considered myself pretty insightful, and like, I just kind of picked up stuff and, had gut feelings and stuff, but I was really also analytical, very in my head. And but again, I wasn't necessarily having like dreams that would come true, or anything like that, but I just was like, I think I can do this. And so I had at that time, I really was like, I want to get readings from people I just love and respect. And like, getting a reading at the time was just like such a treat and so amazing. And I just was like, how can anyone just connect to the other side like that? It's so beautiful and amazing. And now I'm like, oh, I got a reading, whatever. I'm just like, okay. I don't really get readings that often anymore, truly. It's like, I think I trust my own insight a lot. I occasionally will work with other people, but I just don't have that sense of like wonder, you know. Um, but I had a reading with a channeler named Nora Harold. She still does channeling work now. She's amazing. And that session just completely like shook me. And because she is a channel that is able to like really bring through spirit beings and spirit guides kind of through her body and through her voice. And primarily, she works with a group called the Pleiadians. Like they're essentially like in a higher dimension. There are these spirit guides that are like connected to like a higher dimension, and also like a different star system, essentially. And the information that came through was just about, my path as a channel. Like, she was like, hey, you're going to be doing what I do, essentially. Like, how does it make you feel? And I was like, how did you know I was going to ask that question? She was like, I feel like that's one of your questions. And I was like, it was. Oh my God. you know? And it was a crazy reading. And I still think about it. I'm like, wow. And it was kind of in that moment, that was one of those times in my life that I just was like, really kind of got me on my path. And so, now I had this belief that was like, I feel like I can talk to guides, and I want to do what she does, and I want to learn more about talking to guides. And I will say, one of the books that really helps me, it's called Opening to Channel. It's by Sanaya Ronan and someone else. I forget. But it's this. It's a book that is essentially how to connect to your own intuitive channel, how to connect to your spirit guide, and that helped me a lot in my early days of just kind of figuring out how this all works. So, I kind of started my own path of like, I think I can do this. I'm going to learn to talk to my own guides. So, it's kind of a long story. so, um, once I like pretty soon after that, I enrolled in psychic development classes. Because again, I'm a Virgo moon. I like in Virgo midheaven. I want a class and structure, and I'm like, give me the tools. I can figure this out myself, but I just need some help along the way. And that introduced me to working with my guides uh, more specifically. And since then, it's been a journey of deepening that connection. And I will say, that was 2015. It's 2026 now. I swear it's probably taken me until this year to really trust the information that I get has been a journey for me. I don't know why it took me so long, but I think part of my brain was like, "Is this real? Is this real? I don't know. I don't know." Like I'll channel for other people, fine, but sometimes it was, there was some part of me is always kind of questioning it, and I do think that you should be discerning and question the information of where you're getting that information. But I've kind of been having a sort of mini awakening lately, like really deepening my connection to my guides, my spirit team more than ever before. And I think it's just through that trust, like really trusting the information that I get from my guides. And it just feels like it's louder and more powerful. The insights that I've been getting about my own spirit team. And, again, I think that this is a process that we can all do. Not all of us are going to go out and be professionals at this, but we can all learn to channel for ourselves and connect more to our spirit team for ourselves. Spirit guides are never going to like show up randomly and like scare you or give you information that is scary or that feels anxiety inducing, creepy, or foreboding. To me, spirit is really light. Like it more feels like a nudge, and spirit really kind of uses your own intuition, or they will use synchronicity to sort of give you to kind of give you a message. When I feel like I'm really connecting in with my guides and my spirit team, I just feel more in flow with life and I am someone who has struggled with anxiety my entire life. I think part of that is genetic, part of it is trauma and whatever, and predisposition. And you can look at my natal chart and like, oh, this person is probably going to have some anxiety. So I've had to learn about like, is it my brain being like, don't go there, like, don't do that thing, or blah 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 blah, and learn that that's not actually spiritual information. That is my own brain, because again, spirit is more nudge, it's more light, and it's a feeling of just knowing and wisdom. And so I want to talk a little bit about guides that I've met recently or guides that have been always in my space, but I've had more of a deeper relationship with as, as of late. And this is and I'm also going to talk also too about maybe different types of guides that you might experience in your own space. And I'm going to talk about also just some experiences I've had working with clients over the years as well, because I've just seen everything under the sun. And I don't really, by the way, I don't really have like hard and fast rules of like, oh, we only have a certain number of guides our entire life. And I just really, the more I do this work as a channel and a psychic medium, I'm like, there's less rules in the universe than you think, or like the universe is weirder than you think, and everyone has an individualized experience. So I really don't subscribe to the idea of like you only have this many your entire life, and these kinds of beings do this and these do this and that's it. And I'm like, nope. It's I just what I've seen is so expansive. I just don't put these sort of hard and fast rules on everything anymore. I just don't. So as far as my guides, I have a couple experiences I want to talk about. So recently, I feel like I've sort of have met my some version of like a higher self. I don't really know how to describe it. I was in a bathtub and I forget exactly how. I just remember I was like soaking like Epsom salts and they had like candles around me and I just was really quiet. And it's often in those moments where you kind of space out, that you get quiet, that you have those spontaneous connections with spirit. And I just felt this like pink light in my heart. And it's like I just was aware that I had this like pink light around me. Not that I was seeing it with my physical, visible eye, but like in my inner eye. And I just had an awareness that it just felt so light and loving. And I got the name Joseph. And I felt this patient, wise, loving teacher, guide energy. And I just knew that this is like one of my main guides that has always been around me, that has always been working with me. But for some reason, I'm just more aware of his energy or and I always go between saying his energy and their energy because it's like I think he's like multiple also or like part of a collective of beings, but this energy, it's just this like loving, compassionate, never judgmental, like it like really made me emotional. It kind of brought me to tears a little bit. And I just was like, oh my God, like this is my this is my guide. So um that's an energy I've kind of been coming more into just working with more recently. And I'm just kind of, as I go, it's just like an organic thing. I also, it's funny, I wrote a list of my guides on my whiteboard that I'm currently working with. Because it all just, I was sort of aware that I also had a guide that helped me with my business that was sort of like, "Hey, like, you should offer this kind of thing, or you should organize it like this, or you should do this under the full moon," and I always just kinda called it, like, my business guide, but I never really just thought to, like, sit down and channel, like, "Who are you? Like, what do you do?" And I swear to God, the other week, I was like, "I wanna sit down and just channel this guide because I can do that." Sometimes I just forget that I can do that, because I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I'm kind of dense." And immediately, after grounding and setting the space and clearing everything for connection, immediately I was like, I felt my business guide come in and he was like, "Hey, I got the name Adam." And he was just like, I literally, it's sort of the way I kind of describe it as like my business bestie. It's not about like, let's make money, make tons of money. It's like, because to me, my business is connected to my purpose and like what I'm supposed to do on this earth and my mission in this lifetime. So it's like, when I connect to his energy, it's like he sort of helps me be like, hey, you're going to offer this class soon. And oftentimes I'll feel him working with me outside of a channeling session. When I'm often, when I go on a walk, is often time that I'll get those little nudges and hits and downloads from spirit. And oftentimes on those walks, I'll get inspired that I'm like, I feel something come in and I'm like, okay, I think I'm going to offer this kind of class, or I think I'm going to do this, learn this thing next, or I'm going to maybe start talking about this on TikTok or Instagram or something like that. And I've been aware that his energy is very connected to that and is like kind of leading me in those directions. Again, it's not like I'm hearing a disembodied voice and it's like telling me to do things. It's just like I've just gotten really good at feeling those nudges and pushes in my intuition, but literally business guide. I also have another guide that has more like feminine energy. And I'm like looking at my whiteboard. I'm like looking at my notes. I'm like, wait, let's talk about this guide. So her energy, when I connected in with her, she's been around a long time too, but it's been, again, only recently that I've like individuated these energies or really understood like who these people are, who these guides are. And again, I should have defined spirit guides. These are beings of love and light whose job it is to help you walk your path that are helping you with various things. And this energy, I called her Celeste. I felt like her long hair. And she had like, I'm someone also who does magic. Like, I love like ritual and magic. And, I do different like offerings to spirits and I'll do like, money magic or something. If I'm like, fuck, a bill's coming too. What am I going to do? I'm like, okay, let's do a little money magic. And, when I connected in with her energy, I felt like she's helping me with multiple things. Number one is she was making me feel when I was channeling her, I was like, she made me feel that She helps me kind of be in a state of grace and like flow. And what I felt like she meant by that, or that I was feeling when as I was kind of getting this information, was like, it's not the experience of I must do something in order to have abundance and have things be taken care of. It's That's just a state of being I can be in regardless, essentially. And it was sort of like she was kind of like, just pretend that you're God's favorite more. Like, just expect that good things happen to you because they just do. And I was like, I've just never thought of things that way. And and I think that she helps me with relationships as well. And I also kind of felt like ritual and magic. Like, I feel like her energy around I'm doing ritual. So she helps me with like various things. I still haven't exactly the, the thing is with guides too, you're gonna get more of this information when you're ready for it, you know? And but those three feel like my main trio. I also know I have like a protection guide. I've seen it as a dragon. I saw him many years ago. And I just feel like he's around for like life guidance, protection, being like, hey, it's a shitty idea, don't do that. Like, you know, because I do think guides can help you with like warning you about things. And like, if like a friend's like, "Hey, we should go to this bar," blah blah blah, and then you get just like a feeling in the pit of your stomach, like, I don't think you should go there. Like, it gives me like a really bad vibe. I just feel it. That could be your guide plugging into you. That's responsible for kind of keeping you out of harm's way. So that is, I've just always seen that particular guide as this guy I met many years ago when I briefly moved to California. It was the first time I ever left the Midwest to move. And I was like in my mid 20s and I was like, okay. And I, was kind of on my psychic medium path also. And one day I just got it in my mind. I was like, I'm going to meditate and ask for a guide that is working with me. And it was so vivid in my inner eye. And as I'm sitting there, I saw like an onyx black dragon, and it looked like, like a Chinese like mythology, like those kind of coiling kind of serpent dragons. And I saw it like go from behind me to in front of me. And I immediately felt like, oh, like this is a protection kind of thing. And sometimes when I'm clearing my energy or I'm cleansing my energy, I'll feel it around me, helping to clear my energy too. So, and it's funny as I'm talking, feel like I'm going to channel this guide more and give you more information on maybe what he does. I don't really even know his name, to be honest. I'm just like, yeah, my dragon. And it's funny too. I've had other channels and other mediums and psychics be like, yeah, you have dragon energy around you. And I'm like, I know. It's funny you should mention. I actually know. So another thing that I want to talk about in this episode is about energies that could be connected to you that are not necessarily in present time or that require a little cleanup. So this is part of the session I'm going to offer that I'll talk about at the end. And what I'm about to talk about, I don't want you to get the wrong idea that I'm trying to sell you something or be like, you have a dark cloud over you. You need to pay me to take care of it. Hate that. Hate that. Absolutely not. But, um, you know, um, there is this concept and something that I have actually experienced, that you may have energies around that may not necessarily be for your highest good, or that may have been helpful at one time but kind of have outstayed their welcome. And I have found these to be like beings that kind of come in temporarily that just kind of outstay their welcome. These are not like high love and light master guides. You never need to worry about those. Um, but just one experience that I'm going to share a couple of examples with you. So, and this is something that I teach in my psychic development class as well. And this is something that was taught to me, and I just have found it to be true and resonates over time because I actually have the experience to back it up now. But I realized in high school and in college in my early 20s, actually through a lot of my 20s, I definitely had a lot of a lot of depression, sadness. I wouldn't even say depression. I just had a lot of lingering sadness. And I do think some of that was brought in from other lives. I think some of it was inherited, you know, some of it was just trauma, things that happened to me. This is actually through a student I was working with at the time, who's now a friend. But when I do psychic development classes, I'll often have to be paired with a student, and I'm like, okay, you read me, I'm going to read you, right? And I let her read me. And the exercise was like, hey, identify if there are any spirit beings that you're connected to, that is connected to you, but that are at a present time that are no longer helpful. And she was talking about, she was just like, I feel like I'm seeing a being that came in during high school. And this being is talking about, let's be sad together, be sad with me. And or I'll be sad with you. And it was like essentially trying to help. And because unconsciously, I had called in this energy that sort of magnified my sadness. And what she said just so deeply resonated with me because I could feel what she was talking about, where I was just like, because part of me did like being sad. I liked to marinate, ruminate in like the no one loves me or like the lonely part. Like it was like a spirit that was going to become lonely and sad with me. And it just was like, whoa, blew my mind. And so, as part of this healing, I was teaching these students to, and by the way, I had not, identified this being in my own space before because we're not always cognizant of all this stuff all the time. I'm also a regular person too. I have major blind spots too, right? And, but we did, essentially in this exercise, I taught her and she helped me do this because she was kind of doing a reading for me, to help kind of cancel that soul agreement because I don't believe that you can have a being come in like that you somehow didn't agree to. Everything is you're consenting to it unconsciously or consciously on some level, essentially with this kind of stuff. So canceled that soul contract. And over time, looking back, I don't feel that way anymore. I'm a lot happier. I'm a lot more light. And I think that's a result of, yes, that one session, but also, things I've done to kind of reinforce that. But I no longer have that being kind of magnifying the let's be sad together kind of energy. And so I was working with a client recently, and this was a session, a spirit guide introduction. So I was helping her. I was channeling the guides that were kind of coming forward that were working with her right now that were important for her to know. I got like three of them, and I just talking about what each one did. And then in part of the session, I was like, okay, we're also going to look at now, if there's a being that's connected to you that is no longer in your highest good anymore, right? Not a high level master love and light teacher guide, but like a temporary being that maybe was helpful at one time that is not helpful anymore. And um I could feel this so vividly. I saw this being, and the energy that I felt was alert, like, have to stay awake. I am alert to my surroundings. I am like, I would just felt like hyper, like I'm awake. I'm vigilant was the energy. It was vigilant. I knew it was a V word. And sometimes there are times in readings where if the energy feels so light, sometimes it's like it's just my own mind. And sometimes it's so vivid that you can grab it and feel it. That's what it felt like. And I was talking to her about this, and I was asking spirit, like, essentially like, okay, let's go ahead and clear this energy, this soul agreement that she has with this being, like it's no longer in present time, it's no longer in highest good. And I got the feeling that this is something that she, her higher self made a contract with when she was like in college. Because this person is a doctor or some kind of doctor level medical professional. My feeling was that she this came in to help her study and like be aware of all these things that she needed to do. So it was helpful at a time. It was helpful at that time. And I was seeing in my inner eye, like once we would clear this being, it was going to be it was going to be connected to her getting more rest and sleeping more deeply. And I did not talk to her about this. I didn't get information that she wasn't sleeping well or anything like that, but I just was going with what I was getting. And then, so we clear it. And I'm like, hey, does that make sense? Like, I just am clearing this down. Like, any thoughts come up for you? And she's like, she was just like, I've had sleeping issues for like the past 10 years. I did not know that. Right. So that clearly needed to come up because it just wasn't part of her reality anymore. It needed to be cleared. So, so that is part of, so I wouldn't consider that a guide, but sometimes we have contracts with beings and energies that are helpful for a time and then are like, you get to a certain point and it's sort of like just kind of bringing your energy into more into present time, more into a state that is like, okay, this is cognizant with my reality. This is all for my highest good. Right. So, I think I'm going to kind of leave it there. But I did kind of want to just mention at the end of this that I'm doing a session now that I'm really excited about. Just calling it Spirit Guide Introductions. And just like I was talking about, in this session, I'm going to help connect you to some guides that are working with you right now, or angels or beings, beings that are of love and light that are here to be helpful to you that you're already working with, and give you more information about them, what they do for you. It is not, I want to say too, some things like names for guides, that's something I feel like is kind of personal. If it's really strong, like I might get like a placeholder name, like, hey, I'm getting the name like, I don't know, like Michael or something like that. I will say it, but I'm like, hey, like your relationship with your guide is personal. This session is not going to, it's going to get you going in the right direction. It's meant to kind of jumpstart and foster that connection. It is not meant to, everything I say is right and what you're getting is wrong. Like it's just more like, this is the vibe, this is the energy, this is what they do, these are the messages that I'm getting for you. Here's how you can work with them more. Um, like you might have a guide that's like connected to nature. And I'm like, you need to be in nature to work with this guide, or this guide is talking to me about creativity, like opening up whatever. You could have a guide that's like about relationships or something like that. And often they will speak to things in your life that you're needing to work on, or not even work on. It's just like energies that they're wanting to invite you to connect to and work with. And it's not like this job, you know? So, but this is just, I think I really am excited about it because it's about like getting people kind of jump started on their path. And sometimes it's just like, it's nice because it might be what someone's feeling already, but it's just going to give them a little bit more confirmation and validation. But as part of the session too, we do clear, or we do help clear kind of stagnant energy, get your energy field a little bit more clear, as well as, again, work on clearing contracts with beings that are out of present time. So if you want to book that session is, if you go to my website, doxteroracle.com, just click on like any reading where it says book now, and it'll be on my scheduler, on my actual schedule. It's not on my website yet. And I do offer to, like, if there's like a follow-up session you can do as well if you have questions or things come up and you're like, okay, how do I know about if I'm really getting a message from my guide? Like, this is just kind of meant to help all of us get more on our journey of connecting to our spiritual self, of connecting to the other part of the real world, which is spirit. I think we're not here to be alone. We have help. So, and in my life, like connecting more to my guides and my intuition, like when I do it, like when I'm really doing the work, because sometimes I'm like, I don't want to fucking meditate or listen at all. And I struggle a little bit more when I do those things. But when I am in flow and I'm trusting it, I just tend to be in the right place at the right time more. I have more synchronicities. I just struggle a little bit less. Like we all have challenges, we all have bad days sometimes, but I just have less of them. Or I'm just like, I'm like, oh, I need to like book a client. I'm not really sure what to do, blah, blah, blah. And it's like when I get out of my panicking, oh my God, like, oh, and I just listen to my intuition and what comes through, just shit always goes better. So, um, So I've been really passionate about this lately. So hopefully this information, and if you're not working with me, great. Like I hope this kind of gets you more in the right direction. I'll be talking more about spirit guides and your spirit team. I don't think I'll ever shut up about it, to be honest. And I'm going to share more stories on here. If you have questions for future episodes on working with your spirit team or connecting to your psychic side, spirit world, let me know. Either comment on YouTube, if you're watching this on YouTube, comment on my podcast if you're watching it there. DM me on Instagram at Docstar Oracle. You can also email me um, at oh God, I'm going to leave the email in the show notes because spelling my last name is annoying. I need I need a better email address. But you can email me too if you know where to find that. That will be in the show notes or the information on YouTube as well. But until now, I'm going to let you go and get some dinner. It's 9 p.m. I'm just sitting here yapping by myself. So talk to you soon. Thanks for listening. And if you're liking what you're saying, make sure that you like, comment, subscribe to the channel as well, or that you read me a good review on Spotify or Apple, wherever you're listening. So talk to y'all soon.